Hi, welcome to a quick video chat with some of our clients. We felt that a lot of people were being told what they should be doing in reaction to COVID-19, and Lauren Sternberg thought we would talk to our clients, ask them some questions, and their advice hopefully would be helpful to all of you. So we wish we had all the answers. This is certainly something that's a little new and unusual, but we thought we'd hear from the people we've worked with. I want to introduce everyone to Amy Lavin, who is the CEO of the Stroum JCC in Mercer Island, Washington, which really was the epicenter for a lot of this COVID stuff. So maybe, Amy, in some ways you're ahead of others. I don't know. Start by sharing with us how you've adapted programming in the midst of this COVID situation. And you're a community center, right?
Mhm.
So you have you have people coming in and out of the building. You have revenue streams from membership and philanthropy. So talk to me a little bit on the programming side, what you guys have done.
So thank you for having me, Dave. We're here in the suburb of Seattle. And so as you noted, we were kind of early on this entire, early into this US outbreak. And I don't like to lead in that way, but I guess we are. And so quite early on, our governor put us into an extended quarantine situation. So from the very beginning, in mid-March, our Governor Inslee, said, you guys will be out of school until April 24th. So at the time, a lot of my colleagues around the country at various JCCs were planning for short-term closures like 2 or 3 weeks, and we immediately had to take on a long-term horizon. And with that, pivot our programming pretty quickly to continue to add value and offer connection to our members and the families that call the JCC their second home. And so we've done a phenomenal job in the last 2.5 weeks of launching 2 digital channels, one called Virtual SJCC and the other one is SJCC TV. And on those, what we've done is we are kind of creating one channel for content that can be viewed at any time, and then one channel of content that's live activity for various programs. And the programs that have really been phenomenally received are all of our early childhood school, our preschool programming. If you can imagine, every one of those teachers has an amazing connection with their children, and parents need a lot of help right now at home as well.
Right.
So giving parents a few activities throughout the day and some time off or some time assisted by the teachers who are leading the same daily rituals and weekly activities that these kids have come to know and love. And so we've moved a lot of that online and are doing both live kind of morning meetings with all of our classes, and then also providing activities that people can do at home or other types of online story times and everything else. So that's one dimension of it. The other one that's been really successful is our fitness classes, which our audience tends to be a group of kind of people who attend regularly, all levels of fitness and rigor. And what we've got is a great mix of online activity. And we're seeing far higher attendance at all of our online classes than we often do at our in-person ones, which is great. I think people really love seeing familiar faces online. And so overall, that's been an outstanding success. And what we're really excited about is, while this was done under an extreme amount of pressure, it's actually going to hopefully serve our business very well into the future. And that's really the way we think about it, is what did we have to do really quick, and how can it benefit us long-term, and what are we learning from it? And we're actually just surprised at how much engagement we're seeing across the board. The other dimension of that is we have certain weekly activities, like something we call Tot Shabbat, which is a weekly program for families to come together with their young kids and sing. And often that's attended by parents and children, or grandparents and children in our local community. And what we've seen is both broader regional attendance and national participation in some of these programs, because the boundaries are endless now, right? And so when you think about this, there's really this amazing opportunity to touch so many more people across the country, and potentially even connect families around activities that when physically constrained don't get to connect the generations. And so that's been amazing. We're also seeing families who wouldn't typically attend something like a Tot Shabbat show up. And I was on a call with my colleagues earlier this morning, and I think we had 90 people called in for a Tot Shabbat program, which is usually closer to 30 in our building. So in a lot of ways, it's been really positive. We also have a set of content from past cultural arts programs that we've often had online, but not driven as much, or we've had digital copies of, and some of that's been published online. We're bringing more of that online faster and directing more people to it. We're also curating more content that's available and might be interesting to our audience. And so we're just being more thoughtful about curation. So that's really how our programming has changed. Some of the programming sadly has had to drop off. So, we run a very active aquatics program
Right.
that doesn't translate online,
Right.
as well as, a high impact aerobics class. And so we've sadly had to see a lot of that pause. The other thing that's hard is the casual interaction that happens at a community center like the J, and that obviously those spontaneous connections, conversations, smiles, and friendships, that's the part that we just can't replicate as easily, and that we most miss.
I've been there several times, and there always seems to be people that know each other. So,
Yes.
I've never, except for me being the outsider, I've never seen anyone walk in that building who didn't know someone else who was either already in the building or also walking in the building. So,
Yes.
that is a genuine comment on your part. I mean, that I see that when I'm there.
Yes.
Have you, so, a lot of organizations wanted to begin to sort of close their ranks and say, we can't do, we shouldn't do, we're going to be infringing on people if we show there's a need that we have that needs to be supported. Have you guys said, hey, listen, we're going to tighten the belt a little bit, but we're not going to hesitate to let people know that we need support, financial support at this time?
We've been pretty clear from the get-go, from the minute we had to recognize that our building was going to have to close, that we were going to do a couple things. First of all, in our preschool program, our early childhood school, we thought a lot about, those teachers are just core to each of these families' lives. And our teachers are much of the core of our JCC as well. And with their limited scheduling, and as you mentioned, some of the tightening of the belt that we have to do, we want to make sure, we wanted to actually give our community an opportunity, I'll say it that way, to demonstrate how much they care about their JCC staff members. And that's, teachers happen to be one major prime element of that, and very tangible. But we also know that there are fitness instructors that really are the people, that are kind of the daily friends and smiles that people rely on. As you noted, people always find familiar friends at the J. And so we have been pretty clear that in order to try to take care of our staff as best we can, we are going to ask you to consider continuing to pay your tuition or your membership fees, or allow us to hang on to money that you've already paid for a program that may or may not happen. And what we've seen is actually some really strong support of that. Of course, plenty of people right now are coping with their own uncertainty.
Right,
and so, but every ask is that we respect everyone is in a place of uncertainty. But if this is something you're comfortable doing, we would really appreciate it, because we need to take care of our team. In really thinking about how long this could last, every decision we're making financially is with that time horizon of, we don't know when we're going to be able to reopen and what it's going to look like then. So we're making a lot of decisions now, hoping to preserve enough money that we can reopen when it's safe and permitted to do so. And so I think that that's the toggle that we're always asking the community, help us with our team and taking care of the people we care about. Help us make sure that we can reopen when we're ready and when it's allowed.
Yeah, you frame that interesting, Amy, and I want to test kind of a mantra we've been sharing with people, which is, it doesn't sound like you made any assumptions about people's situation. You simply said, the need is strong. Here's what we're going to continue to do to serve. If you're able, we would like you to consider A, B, and C. You didn't lock, stock, and barrel say, everyone's unemployed, therefore we're doomed, and we need, and while, again, there were some people who probably said, I have to discontinue my membership, there were many others that said no, and we agree with you. We need to help support this institution in our community.
That's very valid. And we've had conversations with our leadership and our board on that very topic, right? And our J is, so many organizations like ours are part of the fabric of our communities, and thank God have deep relationships with a lot of people. And those people want to see us survive, and they want to see us be viable in the future. And as a nonprofit, most people know we don't have a lot of cash reserves to get us through moments like this. It's not planned for anyone, and especially for organizations like ours. And so I do think that doing our best to always respect everybody's own certain, own situation, and by all means that leads everything, but we have not just assumed that people will have, that people won't support us.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone's in the same boat. I mean,
Right.
and I think it's dangerous when we make that assumption. What have you gotten any direct feedback from any members or donors about what's been happening, or how you guys have been addressing this, et cetera, that you thought was unexpected or positive or otherwise? And maybe you haven't. I don't know. But
No, I think most people have appreciated that we have been, I'll say the one area where I think we could have done better sooner, but most of it has been, thank you for being transparent and clear. Your messages strike the right balance between community, compassion and care, and business, which is kind of what we're trying to do at the same time, is keep those two things in our minds at the same time and hold them both
right.
in our decision making. The one thing I think is, in organizations like ours, you have a lot of programs that are driven by mission and really about connection to a community and a purpose. You have some programs that are a little bit more fee for service, like just
Right.
actual tactical things that people pay for. I think at times we've tried very hard to disconnect them, but we haven't moved as fast maybe on the tactical fee for service thing as we could have. So some of the questions have been like, I paid for this camp, it's canceled, why haven't you refunded me? And we beg for forgiveness and say, we're trying, we're tackling a lot of things at the same time. Here's your money back, and please give us time to process this. No one's been super aggressive. Everybody has been so gracious. It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think upon reflection, we could have accelerated that path while we dealt with some other things. Just to say, here's your money back for programs we all know didn't happen and aren't going to happen in the weeks that were closed. Here you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, and not everything was foreseeable. And we were talking as a group today with some other folks, and the truth is that at the end of the day, we all feel like we don't have control over certain things, and giving people options gives them control. And I think that's helpful to them. And they're sort of somewhere in the back of their mind appreciative of that. What advice would you give to your nonprofit colleagues, Amy? What would you say to them right now? I mean, this is new territory for sure. Other than maybe they should attend Tot Shabbat with you.
Right. For
Right.
some smiles and some
Right.
laughter,
Yeah.
log on for Tot
Yeah,
Shabbat.
right. Yeah.
The other, I guess the two things I would say is, number one, be open to advice, right? So I think a lot of people and a lot of our major donors, when I've reached out to explain what's going on, when they say they'll be there for you, hopefully they mean financially, and I think they do, but they also are there as a sounding board. And I think there's no playbook here. And so calling on all of our resources as advisors, as counsel, as people
Right.
just whose judgment you trust, because there's no right and wrong. I mean, there's definitely things that are wrong, but there's no clear
Right.
path of right.
Right.
And so I think that being open and being willing to ask questions of people you might not always go to for advice, but who might have a different perspective, I think is something. I've spent more time on different phone calls than I sometimes do, or with people who lend a different type of perspective and insight. So that's one. And the other one is kind of this, I just kind of think holding the two things in your mind at the same time, which is, how do we do everything we can to take care of the people the best we can now? But if we put ourselves in a position where we can't reopen and function, that doesn't help anybody in the long run. And so it's a hard thing to describe. It's a hard thing to explain, I should say, not to describe. It's a hard thing to explain sometimes, but I think that's challenging, because we all want so bad to fix the problem now. So much of the problem can't be fixed till we know how long it's going to last. And I think that's kind of keep both in mind, and I guess, and that's just a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and how long this will last is anyone's guess at the end of the day. Amy,
Right.
You seem to subscribe to my long wisdom of, if you want my money, ask for my advice, and if you want my advice, ask for my money. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that.
Well,
You mean,
fair,
that old adage, I think, is true even in a time when we really frankly don't know from one day to the next what some of the major, health outcomes and economic outcomes are going to be.
That's right.
Thanks for being here, Amy. I miss coming out to Seattle, but we'll get out there.
Well, we welcome you back.
I know,
anytime.
and I'll pretend I know somebody when I'm at the door,
Yeah,
But be well and wash your hands.
often.
Yes. Thank you.
And don't touch your face.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.